But there's that one portion of that movement that literally the majority of that weight is on my hip flexor that's this big. It just seems like an injury waiting to happen. So I really, even for clients, I'm like, you guys are getting strong. Let's do 20s. Yeah. But remember, when I say 20, that means at 14, it should seem impossible. And then I want you to will your way through those next 6 reps, and that's worth it. It shouldn't be like 18, 19, 20, rack.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to It's Just Bodybuilding. Dusty Hanshaw, the producer Scott McNally, and myself, Big Ron Partlow. I want to welcome you to the show. This is our Q&A episode. Remember, like, share, subscribe, comment, and
ring the bell.
There you go. Do not forget that stuff makes a big difference, helps us out a lot. You know about the algorithms. And then, of course, Patreon. Hit the Patreon for the price of a cup of coffee. You can help our homeless producer, Scott McNally. You can help us out. So remember to hit the Patreon. The Think Big Bodybuilding Network really loves the support. And, of course, IamMutant.com, code Dusty20. Code BigRon20. Get your 20% off. Use whichever code you want. Hit up IamMutant.com. You got your ISO Surge. You got your all-in pre-workout. You got your gear. Get on the gear. There we are. Straight to work.
Yes.
Hey, Scott.
Right to it.
Yeah, we have
got a lot of questions.
Yeah, we've got a ton of them. So we were going to just try to rapid fire through a bunch of stuff. I'll just start bringing them up. I'll set them up. You guys knock them down. Thanks for answering my previous question, Dakota says. He says, question for the next show. I've been using decline bench press for a while now. I feel like it is a little better contraction, and I feel like from a biomechanic standpoint, my shoulders don't roll forward, and it's less painful. What are your thoughts on this versus regular bench?
Well, my initial thing is I remember Dorian Yates saying that he did like a lot of decline barbell press, but his bench, I believe, was modified so it was like a 10 or 15 degree decline. It wasn't like the standard old school decline benches that we see around gyms that are, in my opinion, excessively declined and not nearly as useful. Very good for ego lifting, but not necessarily useful. And I also used to do some heavy declines back in the day, but I would get nosebleeds. Oh. And, I don't know if it was the decline or the D-ball, but it was one of the two. But I just remember thinking that I didn't really think that was a good idea. Like, you don't want to blow like a blood vessel in your brain, decline benching 4 plates and all that stuff. So I sort of shied away from that bench after my early years of training. And I found my favorite decline movement was just putting a little bit of an elevation under a bench, like under the foot of a flat bench, like putting a 45-pound plate even, or a couple plates, and using dumbbells. I always thought that was a great decline movement if you're going to do a decline. And then, of course, dips are kind of the ultimate decline movement in a lot of ways, if you can set them up right. But if this guy likes doing them, I got nothing against that. But I think there might be better exercises than the old school decline, with the 30-degree decline. I don't know what he's on, but he might be better off putting a bench under a Smith and just elevating the end of it a little bit. Yeah. There's options.
Yeah, it seems simple. I mean, I agree 100% because the range of motion is terrible on a barbell. And, I really enjoy a hammer strength decline for opening up that pec minor because I don't think a lot of people realize how often that pec minor is bound up and becomes trap issues, shoulder issues, everything else. So I do recommend doing something in a decline position. And Old Faithful is absolutely dips. I think a weighted dip leaned in on purpose to get the pec is a great movement. And I think I always used to remind people there's a reason that most gyms have one or no decline fixed benches and they have 4 inclines and 4 flat benches. Yeah, because it's not necessary.
I'm picturing Branch back in the day with the chains on his neck doing the dips. That was like his thing,
Yeah.
Cussing. The only thing I see people use our decline bench for like abs and like all sorts of other stuff. But I only see a couple
triceps.
people actually bench on it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it is it's pretty old school movement, and it's if we had to remove something from our gym floor, that decline bench has come up several times as being the thing that we might take out.
The possibility.
It would really piss off a couple of members that use it, but then like everyone else wouldn't even notice it was gone, to be honest.
Yeah. All right. How about this one? Digestion question. Reed says, what's the oddest digestive issue that you've had? I'm 5 weeks out currently, basically eating ice cubes and air molecules, and everything is moving great. Then I chewed 2 pieces of gum that had sugar alcohol in them yesterday, and I had terrible gas and bloating for days. Your answer cannot include choking on steak, Dusty.
That's cheating. He said the oddest. I kind of thought I had a win here.
That was pretty odd.
What's the worst day of your life? And don't mention the day you died. That doesn't count.
Weak.
Right.
Weak.
You always keep bringing that up.
It's getting a little old. Anyhow, you know what you nailed is change is always what I was afraid of when I was competing. Like I found by default with one of my first coaches a mistake he made, which was at the very end, and I didn't know any better. He changed all of my protein sources for the last 3 days into foods I had not been eating the entire time, and it was an issue. So my look faltered for no reason, and by the time I was done with that situation, then had hired Chris Aceto and learned his answer to everything was like, why would we change anything? You look great. Like that was always his knee jerk. So I keep those things in mind for all clients as well. Like if they say, oh, is it okay if I use, low sugar ketchup? I'm like, well, have you been using it the whole time around the same amount? Then it's fine. But don't suddenly toss something like that in at the end.
Right.
Because now you're changing my calories. You're bringing in, like you said, sugar alcohols or whatever that weren't there before. So not the time to be experimenting close to the end of a prep, because of course your body is hypersensitive to any changes after 16 plus weeks of a bland prep.
Yeah. I've seen that a lot too. People will go through the whole diet and then like 5 weeks out, there's all these problems. And they're like, well, did you change anything? And they're like, oh, well, I started using like these syrups on my oatmeal, and then this this sugar-free Jello I made twice yesterday. And I'm like, oh, there's your problem. You're throwing all this stuff in. Don't do that. Just don't do any of that stuff. Go back to what you're doing.
Yeah.
So.
And the thing too is they usually say, they're like, well, I've never had problems with that before. That's usually the answer, but all bets are off when you've been on a contest diet for 16 weeks, right?
Yeah. Not having any problems before because you were off season and you couldn't see any of the problems. Yeah. But now you're 4 weeks out and I can see there's a problem. Your legs aren't as hard as last week. So what happened?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that stuff creeps up.
And I think we do get more sensitivities too, like further along. Just like in the off season, I think you can get sensitivities when you're eating a lot and your digestive system is so stressed. Then, maybe it's like 1 serving of oats doesn't bother you, but then you go to 2 servings of oats and now all of a sudden you've got issues, And it's like, well, oats have never been a problem for me before. And it's like, well, have you eaten this volume of food before?
Yeah.
Right.
Which that just happened. That was a
same with egg
literal
whites.
Thing. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's like someone will be like, oh, I'm having a problem with egg whites. I'm like, my stomach's all messed up. Like, well, you've been eating them all year, but I just switched like 4 of my meals to egg whites.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that's the problem.
Did you guys ever do the liquid egg whites and just drink them?
Oh yeah,
I did
lots of times.
Yeah. It worked for me. So I was like, I'm going to try this 2 meals. And that was a mistake because it literally came out, same consistency it went in. Like 2 hours later.
Yeah. That's a visual.
Like, I can't do that 2 times a day.
Right. I've done that lots. Like if I was on the road and I was pinched for food and I was like needed to eat clean or to stick to a diet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You could like go to a grocery store and buy a 500 ml of egg whites and just slam it.
Yeah.
50 grams of protein, move on.
I used to do that when I worked for the pop company. I just literally on the clock, I'd be like, okay, time for me to go eat some food. And I figured it out myself. I was like, okay, so they sell like the Lana's egg whites, and all that, and all the flavored egg whites. I was like, I bet you I could just get the egg whites here. And there's 50 grams of protein. and there's a bagel. That's 60 grams of carbs.
Yep.
And there's 10 units of Humulin R in my backpack. This works out great.
How'd that get there?
And I'm on the clock.
Does that make you a professional bodybuilder right then and there?
Pretty much.
You were getting paid to eat. I like it.
Yeah. So, Ron, did you have anything like that? Because you was asking personal experiences.
I never really had. I know people don't get this, but I never really had digestive problems.
Yeah.
I've been super regular my whole life. I don't know what it's like to be crazy. I guess I remember one time, long time ago, I was working with a coach that had me eating a crazy amount of vegetables because my carbs were almost nothing.
Yeah.
And I had these digestive issues, but I just learned that broccoli was a problem for anyone when they eat 2 kilos a day of it.
Right.
And, and, if you have broccoli at one meal, that's different than, 2 pounds over the course of the day for several days in a row. That's not a good idea.
Yeah.
Once I learned what vegetables my body likes, my body loves green beans. I can eat green beans with 3 meals a day. No problem. Flat stomach. Don't even know I'm eating them. But as soon as I throw in broccoli, I get a lot of problems. But there's people that argue that humans shouldn't even eat broccoli. There's people that say
really?
It's they're yeah, it's got vitamins in it. So what? The cruciferous vegetables are terrible for gas and digestion. There's far superior vegetables we can eat. Let's just eat other stuff, So.
Plus, you can smell like broccoli. I've never said that someone smelled like a green bean. But I've definitely smelled some broccoli people. I'm like, bro, you gotta stop. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing's worse than those people that smell like fish, though.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to have white fish at 5 meals. And next thing you know, you can't even be within 50 feet of him at the gym. It's dude, your girlfriend is going to leave you.
She should.
But I'm peeled, bro.
Yeah, no, there's a price to pay for that. Don't do that. Don't be that guy.
There's a price to pay for that.
All right. Jeremy Jason's got a question for us. He says, question for Dusty, a former Arizonan. Have you ever had a close call or encounter with a scorpion or a rattlesnake? Is that some way out? Is that some way out desert stuff?
That is not way out desert stuff. The scorpion, actually, this is a funny one. I was doing cardio in the gym.
Okay.
So I'm walking along and all of a sudden, something hurt my toe. Son of a bitch. I mean, I'm in the middle of cardio. There was a scorpion that was in my shoe that I put my shoe on and did not position himself to sting me until I was walking. And then I literally was like, mother, I took my shoe off and I poured it out. I saw the scorpion. I smashed the little bastard.
Yeah.
And then I put my shoe back on and I was like, all right, from what I understand, this is going to hurt like hell at some point and become an issue. But I got 17 minutes of cardio to do. So if I can get it done before that happens, I will finish it. So I got back on there and I don't know if it was how he hit me or whatever, but it was sore. But I had been prepared by people of what was coming and elevate your foot and this whole thing.
Yeah.
The only thing that pissed me off is that when I smashed him, I didn't get a good picture of him for the gram.
So how big was he? The size of a dime or a quarter or?
No, he was a little bigger. He was like a quarter. And I guess the bigger they are, the less damage they do.
No
he
kidding.
Wasn't big. Okay. Yeah, the little ones are the ones that whip your ass. Huh. But I really do think that somehow he must have got me in a way that, because I've heard many stories about it, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a problem today.
Yeah.
Not like you're going to die or anything, but this is going to be an issue. And it really wasn't. And I just remember a guy watched me. He goes, what was that? I'm like, there was a scorpion in my shoe. And he just looked at me like, what? Yeah, he got me. Anyways. So that was it.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
How about, got one for Ron here. How much salt in the liter of water before a workout? You've mentioned put some salt in your pre-workout, water, drink a liter of that down before you train, give you good pumps.
Right. I always tell people 4 to 5 grinds is what I tell people. But
you're just as bad as me.
Yeah. Well, one of the things with sodium is I really, really try to avoid using, like, the last thing I want is people weighing their salt. Like,
I hear you.
That's not how the body works. The body's really, really great at managing sodium. You do not have to manage it for it. It will manage it. You can just put in plenty. It will piss out all the salt it doesn't need. Trust me. So I say 4 to 5 grinds. I was always told, I had my old coach, Scott Abel, who was big on salt. He was the guy that kind of opened my eyes. He was ahead of his time. But he used to say a gram for every liter of fluid that flows through your body as an athlete. Right. So if you drink 8 liters, you need 8 grams. If you drink, that sort of thing. So he always said, as an athlete, that's the number he kind of aimed for. So, you could put, those little salt packets that you get at restaurant, those are 1 gram. Yep. So you could put a salt packet in. Of course, they're half chloride, right? Because that's sodium chloride. So it's really only 500 mgs of sodium.
Okay. But, I was going to ask you, a gram of salt or a gram of sodium?
Right.
Gotcha.
So yeah. But, obviously there's a taste factor too. You don't want your water to taste gross, and you want it to be drinkable. I find a little bit of salt in my water actually makes it more drinkable because it absorbs better. Your body takes it better when there's a little bit of electrolyte in it, because it's like a whole absorption issue. So yeah, I would say, between 500 and 1,000 milligrams of salt, but don't be putting it on a scale. That's just too. That's that world of spreadsheet bodybuilding that I really, really try to avoid. Right.
Mm-hmm. I like that spreadsheet bodybuilding. On the topic of water, how many liters a day realistically should we be drinking? I try to get 4 to 5 liters, but end up peeing a ridiculous amount and wake up 5 to 6 times during the night. This is from one of our regulars, Reza.
Don't drink so close to bed.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of that at the back end.
Yeah, that will reduce this. 5 to 6 times a night is ridiculous.
Yeah,
that's
you're
like
drinking too much
dieting
late in the day, for sure.
That's like 0 carbs. Like if you're peeing, like I think at my most severely dieted, I was maybe peeing 5 times a night.
You got some prostate issues, one of the two.
Yeah, you need a finger up the bum. Check that out.
From a professional.
It's not gay if it's an inspection.
Oh man, that's bad. So to answer, I do tell my clients to shoot for 6 every day.
Okay.
Which is a lot, but it's, to me, this is an area in bodybuilding that somehow gets missed. Like the importance of getting your fluid in. I don't know how people don't understand how fluid is more important than food.
Yeah.
So
hydration.
It's just a fact. So you have to be bringing in that. And if you're organized, I don't even see how it's difficult. Like I have people say, I can't. I'm like, how? When I was in prep, 2 gallons was easy in a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm long retired and I put down more than a gallon every single day.
The key
if you're
is
thirsty or dehydrated. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, you have to have water with you is the key, right? Yep. Like if you say you go to work and it's an hour drive and you don't have any water with you available during that drive, or you sit at your desk or whatever, you go do something, you're away from water, you can't make up. It's hard to make up for water. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If once you get behind, you missed a couple hours of being consistent. Yeah. But if you constantly have it with you, that's the key. And then you can drink it. I remember, I'm sure you guys probably did it. I did the gallon jug thing. Walking around with your gallon jug, and I felt like, I'm a bodybuilder, but the reality was it helped me get through the water that I needed at that time, when I actually did that.
Yeah. Dusty sort of mumbled something there, but I'm not sure if it came out good on the mic, but he said, when you're thirsty, you're already dehydrated.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's very, very important. You're already past needing water if you're thirsty. So remember that. And your pee should be clear. If you go to take a leak and it's like bright yellow, either you just hammered your vitamins like an hour ago, it's a bunch of vitamin C in your piss, or you need to hydrate better. So keep that in mind.
And you train yourself too. I think if you're not thirsty initially, that if you drink consistently, then your body gets used to it. I think if you're not drinking consistently, your body will hold more water, you know, and you won't pee it out as much. So that first couple days, it might be harder, but you know, with time, I mean, it's just like in the gym. You go in the gym, you don't just, most people at least aren't benching 3 plates the first day they train, right? And maybe you aren't at 2 gallons or 1.5 gallons yet, but you know, if you work on it, you can get it, like you said, Dusty, 1 gallon in. Like you can get 1 gallon in easy, you know, to start and build it.
And remember the studies that show a 10% dehydration lead to a 30% decrease in performance.
Wow.
So do not let yourself get dehydrated. That's why I tell people that train in the morning, the most important thing is the second you wake up, you need to get a full liter in, like right away with some salt in it. Because, you know, you don't need a lot of food to train, but you need to be hydrated.
A lot more water stuff going on here. Time is muscle says, question for the next show, dry out techniques for show day without the use of diuretics. Do either of you have experience? I heard John Meadows did preps without diuretics. So really like to hear your thoughts, guys.
The key to doing a show without diuretics is to be peeled of fat, like stripped. Like a lot of people, I corrected someone the other day. They said, oh, you know, I have to be 205 for my cutoff for classic. So as long as I'm like, you know, 210, 212, I can make 205, no problem. You know, I'll just like, you know, not eat or hit the sauna or whatever. And I was like, that's a terrible strategy. The best strategy for you, if you have to be 205, is to ruthlessly get yourself down to 203. Yeah. Like waking up in the morning, 203, regular day, no diuretics, fat-free, skinned alive, even if it costs you, even if you feel like a rake. Because now you can weigh in without diuretics, without dehydrating yourself, without starving yourself, because you can get up and have breakfast, put a whole liter of water in, and now you're 205, and now you just got to wait for weigh-ins.
Yeah.
And you'll be 204 in an hour because you're going to pee, and then you can drink some more fluid and eat a little bit of chicken, and now you're 205 again, and now you wait another hour and you're 204 again. Like you can make weight without having to deplete and suck and drain all the life out of your muscles and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the key is get in what you think is in shape and then lose another 10 pounds. Like just get peeled, you know, it's,
like
that's the sort of the attitude that, you know, I think is the best way to dry out because, you know, I always go by how people look in the morning, right? You know what I mean? Can I send you a picture, Scott?
Sure. As long as it's not of your dick.
Again.
Yeah, again. I got enough of those today.
So I'll just send you this. So this is just an example. This is what I'm talking about. So this is my good buddy Murr. His name's Daryl Ransom. So my buddy Murr, I've been helping him for a while. So this is just him in the morning. He gets up in the morning, pounds a liter of fluid, goes to the gym, does his cardio, takes some pictures, sends them to me.
Look at those
so
hands.
This is him. So like,
Yeah.
He doesn't need to use all these crazy methods to get hard for stage. He's literally just going to wake up that day, go to the show with a water bottle in his hand.
Yep.
No worries in the world. Do you know what I mean? Everyone else dehydrated and diuretic out of their mind, feeling like garbage.
Stressed, you know?
Stressed. He's just going to roll in like, oh, it's Saturday? Oh, okay, I'm here.
Yep.
You know? And that's like, the longer I do this, the more I think that should be everybody's goal. I think that my whole generation approached it a little bit wrong. Like we're going to do this and this and this and this and this, and then we're going to do this and this, and we're going to do this, and then we'll look great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
I think essentially it's like, just get leaner. Get leaner.
I couldn't agree more.
So
Jose used to always say anything that can make you better at the end can also make you worse.
Yeah. It's
so
risks.
It's risks. That swing that you take, you know, to get that water out or whatever could be the thing that pushes you in the wrong direction. like you said, Ron, I mean, when you're in shape, I always laugh because John Meadows is always listed, and people forget, like, he would do update photos every 2 or 3 days the last 6 weeks. It looked like he was drier than the Sahara Desert 6 weeks out. Like, it's not much of a story that he didn't use diuretics. It's like, to pull what? From where?
Yeah.
And
he died at
his heart
ass
beating.
off. I remember when John did the 202.
Oh, man.
He
awesome
told me his diet. He's like, yeah, I'm on a bikini diet. And I'm like, oh, what's it like? And he started telling me his diet. And I was like, oh, that's an actual bikini diet.
Yeah.
Like, he's on like 4
Egg
ounces
whites.
of chicken.
Yeah, egg whites,
like,
chicken, and something else.
like, you know, he's just suffering into like oblivion to get peeled, you know? And then also too, another thing is, I think people also don't understand the importance of reducing workload if possible. Obviously, if someone's grinding, they got to grind. Yeah. But like Meadows, a guy like that, or like, you know, like the guy I just showed you, he's going to be able to back off cardio a week out, back off like, just pull cardio back to 15 minutes a day. Let's roll this back. And then all the stress hormones that are, you know, already probably pretty good because he's in shape, they drop down even more. Like the number of times I've told people the last week, hey, cut cardio and add carbs, and I'll add like rice to some of their meals, and their weight drops.
Yeah.
And they're blown away. Like, how can I be lighter? And I'm like, stress hormones and water. You're drying out as you carb up and relax and cut your cardio and dial back. And you know, it's not all done the night before with, you know, I remember the injectable Lasix days. Guys around me taking injectable Lasix, you know, and then wondering why they can't get a pump for like 36 hours, you know? So, hey, I also saw some guys win shows doing wacky shit too. I mean, we all saw that, you know, but yeah.
It's a coin flip.
That's the thing. It's risk. Someone might have won a show taking this and that and doing this and that, but can they repeat it? Can they do it again?
Yeah.
You know? So
I got a shot from one of my guys. This is fully drinking water, like no water cut at all.
There you
Zero
go.
water
Look at
cut.
that.
You know?
Good work. Jeez.
Thanks. Yeah. And one of the things too is he had one of the things we needed to do was watch his legs, because his legs would really shrink up on him. They aren't like his strongest body part. And we were able to, in this season, we were able to do like very minimal cardio. Like the last 6 weeks, he was hardly doing cardio at all, you know, and it's like he didn't lose any of the volume in the legs, and we posed him better too. But yeah, like just constantly just drinking 2 gallons the day of the show and just looking better and better. You're going to be full, you know, get to eat your regular food, all of that, relax.
I remember I was sitting next to Ben Chow at one of his one of the shows that I see. I just happened to see Ben at like 4 shows this year. And I was sitting next to him, and he had a client that looked really good. I'm like, oh man, this guy looks great. And he goes, yeah, we had a panic last night. Yeah. I went to his room, and he was soft. And I go, what'd you do? And he goes, I gave him a gallon of water. I dumped a bunch of salt in it, and I told him he had to drink the whole thing before bed.
Dang.
And he pounded it. And then, of course, what happens? The antidiuretic hormones in the aldosterone tank down to nothing.
It's like crazy.
The floodgates just open wide, and the guy sleeps with wide open gates, getting up to piss. He got up to piss every 45 minutes all night long. You know, woke up in the morning, dry as shit.
It's a baller move, though, because as a coach, isn't it kind of scary when somebody's not looking the way you want them to, and you're like, drink more water, and you're getting close to the show? Yeah, that's a baller move.
I guess the guy had the guy had a screwed up flight, and he came in late, right? So he was all like stress and panic, and the wife's trying to keep him calm, and Ben's like, pound a gallon, pound it. You have like 6 hours before bed, just pound this gallon.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. And it just flushed, just rinsed it all out. Just like, you know, just spraying down your car after you've been in the mud, you know, look how shiny it is. Just rinse all that shit away, you know? So, yeah.
All right. What else do we have here? All right, there was the 2.5 pound question. Let's see. Oh, how about this one? Paul says, a question for the next podcast. Do you think there is an issue with every person who has trained for more than 2 weeks then claiming to be a coach? Surely at some point it gets dangerous, especially if they are offering advice on drugs, etc., when they are not qualified.
You know what? I've sort of changed my tune a little bit on this. I put the onus on the buyer. Buyer beware, right? That's what we always used to say. You're allowed to try to do business. Like, I just kind of look at, I'm just all about personal responsibility. You know, even though something might irritate me and I might think something, I'm like, wait a minute. My core tenets of how I try to like think about the world is personal responsibility.
Yeah.
And so it's up to you. Like, who are you hiring? What experience do they have? Have they done this before? Can they help you? Then there's also the fact that I've seen some people that have no experience, don't really know a lot about bodybuilding. And I've seen them help like a friend, and the friend just looks awesome.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, whatever you guys did, good job, you know? So I've been surprised, shocked, blown away by the odd, you know nothing or brand new coach. Obviously, I've seen some horror stories, but hey, I've seen horror stories with like these super famous all-star coaches that are supposed to be the cat's ass that cost $5,000 a year or whatever the hell they're charging. I've seen some brutal stories with that, like not even getting a final week from them, not hearing from them the last 10 days before prep, getting ignored, you know, just all this stuff, you know? So, you know, it is what it is. You know, you got to be aware who you're paying and what's your experience been like with them. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think you covered the most of it. I mean, because you did nail it. I mean, I just had somebody that on a Q&A asked me how I would handle if I was him, reaching out to a coach who said he was going to have his program to him in a certain number of days. I don't want to say the number because everybody will know who it is because I know who it is. And then 4 days past that date, just not responding to emails after he paid him up front for a full year.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a pretty normal thing. I will also say that you do have to remember everyone started somewhere. Like, I look back at how I used to do things and go, ooh, I don't know. I mean, it worked.
Yeah.
But what I do now works better.
Yeah.
You know, so I would never say that I had ever done anything that was dangerous or bad, but definitely didn't have the understanding I have now.
Sure.
And like you said, Ron, I mean, there's certain things you just learn to where when you do have experience, the only way it came was with the experience. Like, I can pretty well wholeheartedly tell people there's nothing that's going to happen during this prep I haven't seen. So just relax. The reason I'm calm is not that I don't care. It's that I've seen it and I will fix it and it'll be fine. You know?
Yeah.
So like you said, you have to look into that as a client as well and ask, like, why am I hiring you? It's a question on my questionnaire that I have for clients. Why are you hiring me? Why me?
I ask people that all the time. Why are you calling
I can
me?
literally send you to other people. So let me tell you what I do and make sure it's a good fit for you. If your possible coach can't ask you that question, then you probably have an issue. You know, because I mean, I have clients. I mean, we know this. We all have shared clients on this podcast. People that worked with you, then me, then you. People just try different stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. And any client I have that has worked with either of you, they have nothing negative. They're just like, I want to try something new. And I'm like, you shouldn't have chose me then because you're getting basically the same thing. Ron and I do the same diets.
I'm a little meaner. Ron's a little nicer.
But it's funny because it's like, I do laugh because I'll see it. I'm like, okay, well, I'll change one meal then because that's exactly how I would have written that. Okay.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. It's you know, that obviously there's people out there that are, I think the thing that gets me, and I'll leave the real ranting to Mike Van Wyck because that's what he's the best
doing a lot
at.
of that lately.
Yeah. I'm not going to step on his toes and steal any of his phrases, but the people that are really diving into the trying to be something they're not, or trying to be everything. Like Mike did a great video where he's like, people come to me and I put them through a back workout and I change their form and I get their lats working better and I, correct them because their arm's too long for this exercise. And why are you doing this? It doesn't work for you. And, all that sort of back workout stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. And then they'll go, okay, well, what's my diet and my cycle? And he's like, I don't do that. Yeah. And they're like, what? Yep. And he's like, I don't do diets. I haven't dieted a bodybuilder for years. I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? He doesn't, he's not what he's into. It's not what he likes. It's not fun for him. So he doesn't do it. But there's people out there that feel like they have to be everything. And that's one of the main things that I've always said is beware of people that have an answer for everything. The most telling thing about Chris Aceto, we've said this dozens of times, is that he says, I don't know all the time. Yep. He's like, hey, I get people ready for shows, but I don't know the answer to this question. I don't know.
I love that because there are so many people that's all they have are the answers, but they don't know how to really apply this stuff in the real world. There's so many.
They know what they should say, right?
Yeah,
they know what
exactly.
the voice, the sound bite should be something about, transverse plane elbow drive combined with the word activation. And then the word, we have to use a phrase, optimal range of motion. And then we have to also use all this phrase bombing word salad stuff is great if, and I guess it takes someone a little more experience to know who actually knows what they're talking about.
That's true. Yeah.
But for example, like if say Ben Pekulski, right? Who I know Ben for a long, long time. Let's say Ben does a video on squatting and he's talking about ankle flexion and knee placement and hips. I'm like, yep. This guy's completely qualified to be talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But then you got some other guy who's maybe 22 years old and he's saying the exact same stuff word for word. It's like you just sound like you're impersonating an expert.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
you can see that. You can see that. I can see that. Dusty can see that. The 21-year-old guy might not see that who's newer,
Right. Like the reason Ben can say all that stuff is because he's read all the books. He's been to all the literally gone to biomechanical seminars that were weeks long. He's like, obviously stood on the Olympia stage.
Yeah, he applied it. He applied it.
Squatted 6 plates for 15 reps and like all this crazy shit. You know what I mean? And so there's that stuff because that's my little thing without ranting.
Yeah. Now that I'm done with that rant, I don't want to rant anymore.
Yeah.
All right.
And you know what? And also just one final thing. If you are that young new trainer, speak from the heart. Speak from what you actually know. Like just be you. Like say, man, I just love to train. I found this so far. I helped a guy with this and it worked. I really think that this guy's smart and I really like what he has to say about squatting. And I think that it's smart if you follow those guidelines. That's what I'm going to do.
Yep.
He could still help you get in shape for a show. Maybe he's great with diet, great with prep. Just don't try to be everything. Don't try to always have the answers for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. True.
All right. Dusty. So what do you guys think of doing pyramid sets on leg day up until you're close to your max set, then drop setting back down to high reps?
I actually, for legs specifically, I love volume as I go up. Other body parts, like if I was doing, say, shoulder presses, I'm just touching weights to get to my maximum poundage. So like my last set or two is like 2 reps before I actually get into my heavy sets. But legs, I pyramid, like if I'm doing sets of 20 to 50, every warm-up set is 10 to 15 reps, maybe even 20. I might put 4 plates on, do 20 reps, put 6 plates on, do 20 reps, put 8 plates on, do 20 reps, and then figure out where my heavy weight is going to be. Because I like the pre-exhaust. It also makes sure I don't get injured or at least lessens the chance because I'll be using less weight for that all-out set. I don't drop set legs primarily because for me, I find that wind becomes an issue more than strength. So that's not the best route for me because my legs are just naturally strong. So I can just will my way through 50 reps on a weight that I'm dying wind-wise, and it won't really be great for me. But I do like to do a full set and a drop back set. If I was doing that, that's how I would design it. it'd be a really heavy set of say 30 and then a full 3 to 5 minute break and then a lighter set for, 35 to 50 reps. And that would be like my version of that. But
I'm in the same boat as Dusty, and I feel like obviously because of my age and stuff, I really like the 2 plates for 12, 4 plates for 12, 6 plates for 12, 8 plates for 12. Now you're on 10 plates, and now you only get 11 or 12. Now so as a fail set. Okay, there's first work set. Now I'll pull a couple plates off, go back down to 8 plates, and do my second fail set. I know that I'll, fail between 10 and 20 reps somewhere because I just did a fail set.
yeah.
Whereas I know what you mean. My training partner will do like the 20 rep warm up and then a 10 rep and then maybe a 5 rep because he's trying to preserve strength. But I don't do that anymore. I don't try to preserve that extra amount. I think the warm up, the groove, getting everything, fully pumped and, reducing risk is maybe it's mental, but it's definitely something that I do now. So yeah, a little more volume. And the leg press is the leg press is a big volume exercise, I think, because you can't leap 4 plates aside at a time. You know what I mean? Like you gotta warm. There's so many plates on that thing for some people. You gotta groove into it. You don't want to do like 8 plates for 10 and then jump to 13 plates aside.
No, God, no.
Like that's disaster town. Yeah.
Do you guys, your opinion for both you and your clients though, like I find like for me in leg press, a lot of it being hindsight on mistakes I did make, that when pushing to proper depth, you get a point where the risk to reward on pounds gets a little bit crazy for hip flexors and things.
Yeah.
Because I have 22 plates up per side on this thing and I'm doing 10, but there's that one portion of that movement that literally the majority of that weight is on my hip flexor that's this big. It just seems like an injury waiting to happen. So I really, even for clients, I'm like, you guys are getting strong. Let's do 20s. Yeah. But remember, when I say 20, that means at 14, it should seem impossible. And then I want you to will your way through those next 6 reps, and that's worth it. It shouldn't be like 18, 19, 20, rack.
Right.
That's a
yeah.
one. Like
I try to tell people if I ever tell you to do 20 rep leg presses or whatever, you should be able to do at least 12 nonstop.
Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed.
I like that.
You don't want 19 nonstop. That's too light of a weight. It has to be a grinder. It has to be a really hard 20. So you need to be able to do 12 before you have to kind of start pausing and then doing like 2 at a time. Pause, breathe, 2 at a time. So you want those 20s to be real grinders, like true grinder sets. Yeah.
Shoot, man. I feel like, a lot of the newer guys that I work with, I have to teach them not to pause the reps. They'll pause just everything. Like, they're doing the leg press and they're like, okay, let's get it going. 1, down and up, and then take a couple breaths and lock the knees out. 2, and that's the way the set starts. So I think just being able to go to those constant reps in itself is a great tool for getting more out of less weight,
Yeah.
I get both actually, Scott. I get that. I've had a few where I'm like, whoa, why do you, I thought they were like adjusting their feet because they kept stopping.
Yeah.
I'm like, why are you stopping? But then on the other end, I've had people rack. They grind at a rep and then they rack. And it'll be early on in our training relationship. And they're like, I said, why did you take a few breaths? Oh, I didn't know it was a rest pause. I'm like, oh, you can hold it there.
Oh,
don't lock your knees. But as long as you don't rack the weight, this set's still going.
Yeah.
I might stop, on a high rep set, I might stop 5 times. By the end, it might be every rep.
Right.
That 36 to 40 tends to be like maybe 2 reps, maybe even 1. Breathe, go.
Yeah.
Breathe, go,
Just training yourself to do that, I think, is great for the muscle. Like because I remember the time that made sense to me, and I feel like my development took off when I started trying to get constant reps out of everything I did versus, just doing curls. 1, and then take a breath. 2, it's like just being able to get those constant reps was a game changer for me.
Yep.
All right. We got a few more we could try to rattle through here. There was one about traveling to Ron's gym. I'm sure I'll find that one. Oh, this one. I could take this one. Let's see. I have a lady that I'm helping out with her diet. She used to be a heroin addict. I noticed the way I said that.
I gotcha. Good job.
Yeah. And
Smart. It's not that you can't read everyone.
And I can't. Well, there is that too. And I can't get her to lose. Could it be a problem with her serotonin? I said it that way, like he was guessing. Serotonin from years of abuse. I can tell you that it probably, and I wrote him back on this one too. I don't think it does have anything to do with that. I've seen so many people that have gotten into recovery that were, opiate addicts that were able to, that have been able to get in crazy shape. And because they're addicts, I think they've got that little screw loose in their heads that they've probably even gotten leaner than most people. So
I agree 1,000,000%.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I'll say that. And the reason I said heroin, that's an old black guy once told me in my 12-step program. He said, "You know why they call it heroin?" And I said, "Why is that?" He said, "Because from here on out, you got a problem." I was like, "That's a good one."
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is classic. What I find interesting is anytime I have a client that's new and they tell me that they're, in recovery,
Yeah.
I always think to myself, oh, this is going to be good. Because they just I've had so much good luck with just hardcore people, because this is their drug in a sort.
Yeah.
And they slay it. I mean, it's impressive,
As long as they keep it together, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, as long as they don't go too extreme, because you can take anything. We talked about that on, the recovery podcast we did in the past.
Yep.
That, you could take it too far too, and
oh yeah, it has
lose
to
lose your family out of it. You know what I mean? Be like that guy.
There's a lot of those guys, and girls.
Yeah,
I have no career or a future, but have you seen my abs?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We got any more, Scott?
Well, we got a very important one here from Connie Richards.
Dogs.
Dogs or cats? And can we just talk about why dogs are better?
Love you, Connie.
Do we have to
Thank
ask?
you, Connie.
Yes.
She proved her own point.
Stretch marks. How about that one? Oh, that's pages. We're going to go to that one next. Stretch marks. Get on the creatine. Yeah. Okay, Ron. But if I get... Oh, he was remarking on the last episode. So stretch marks, other than growing slowly, how to avoid them. And then he adds, and this part got me questioning. He said, or remove if, say, my buddy has a few on his butt. And I wanted to know, how did he know about his buddy's stretch marks?
I don't want to know how he knew that at all.
Yeah, I'm just joking, buddy.
A little bit.
Yeah, stretch marks.
I know very little about all my friends' butts. Very little.
I don't want to know anything.
I do need to just quickly list. I thought we moved on a little too quick because I didn't get to tell you the 13 reasons why cats are just plain evil.
You had 13 locked and loaded, huh? Okay.
I'll just fire through them. Cats don't understand no. Cats are arrogant. Cats are manipulative. Cats make you more stupid. Cats don't like making eye contact with you because they think they're better than you. Cats think you are completely incapable. Cats are the favored pets of witches. That should tell you something. That's true.
That's a fact, isn't it? Yeah.
Cats are murdering monsters who enjoy murder.
I've seen that, actually.
Cats are the pet of choice for most evil villains.
It's possible.
Valid.
Yeah.
Cats think you're their pet.
I agree with that.
Cats love watching you clean up their shit. Cats think humans stink. And the conclusion is stay away from cats. I just thought I'd throw that in.
All right.
That's a lot of great information. Yes. There we go. We're good with that. We're good.
There we go.
Okay. Stretch marks.
Yeah.
Cats have them, and they're covered them under their fur. I found stretch marks to be genetic.
Huh.
Because I've never had them.
Yeah.
And I've gotten very big and fat when I was younger, trying to get huge. I've done everything right and wrong in bodybuilding you could do, and I do not have stretch marks to this day, even as I've shrunk down. And I know most guys at least get them in their pec line or anything like that. I got a little bit on the left side because I had a surgery there, so my skin was pulled differently. So I had a couple off of that. And then I have other guys I knew that, like, when we were in, barely tinkering with weights, they had giant stretch marks from jump, and they weren't even, as big. So I just don't think overall they're that big of a deal. And I definitely think, while we're on the topic, for any ladies that are watching this, guys don't care. Don't worry about them. Yeah. I know a lot of girls are like, oh, I got these stretch marks, or I got this. I'm like, yeah, you shouldn't care. Like, not that you should do it for men, but, like, you're not supposed to be flawless. That's retarded. So.
Yeah. There's a lot of things girls think we care about that we don't care about.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Little cellulite, that's a win in my department, just so you know.
Yeah. Remember,
I want to eat, remember?
It's not how you look. It's what you'll do.
Words of wisdom. Words of wisdom.
All right. We shall finish then with Paige's question. She says, making plans to train at Ron's gym in July. Maybe I'll jump into the Vancouver Pro Show. We will see. You're going to jump in the Vancouver Pro Show, Dusty, too?
No, I'm going to go to Ron's gym in July.
Okay, perfect. Other than Ron's gym, what else do you recommend in the area? What else did the area have to offer?
Iron Bowl. That's not called Iron Bowl anymore.
Dusty likes the restaurant across the street.
It's good. I'll second that.
So I tell people this just to make sure they understand. This is not like me juicing up the area or trying to make people think, but like, there's a lot of beautiful areas in Canada, but this is one of the most ridiculously beautiful places you can come, like, in the world.
Absolutely.
We're very lucky. And the crazy thing is, you can go to the mountains in the morning, and you can hike to the top of a mountain or take a gondola up to a mountain and overlook the city from, like, the clouds. And then you can go down to the beach for the afternoon.
Yep.
It's a pretty crazy place to live. It's gorgeous. There's a bunch of really great stuff. Like, if you like hiking, that's, infinite.
It's the bomb for hiking.
Infinite at every possible level.
It doesn't get, like, super overly hot. I think I was there in July. It was pretty hot, actually, now that I think about it. But
we have, well, we'll get clobbered with a couple of 100-degree days in July and stuff, and it can be. Well, I'm talking in American there.
Yeah,
but we'll see. We will see 40. We'll see 40 Celsius in July for sure. But generally speaking, we're okay here. But one of the things about if you don't like to hike, there's this suspension bridge that is just unbelievable. Suspension bridge over top of a big canyon with an incredible view that you can walk along, and there's so many sightseeing opportunities and things. There's all this stuff down by the water. She's just get on the Googles and just start looking up sightseeing stuff. There's all sorts of tours you can take. It's crazy out here.
Look at all the information he gave. Not anything about all of the food in Vancouver.
Well, that's another thing. It's like food central,
Hall of Fame down there.
Yeah.
Especially if you like sushi, forget about it. Some of the best on the entire planet is there.
Yeah.
Oh, Vancouver's nuts.
Also, I'm not sure if it's just because, like, Japan is just on the other side of the ocean, but there's, like, a lot of sushi places here that have they're like Japanese guys right from Japan. Like, it's
real fresh fish,
here.
Like real fresh fish, because you got it right
fresh
there
fish.
from the ocean.
It's hours old and that sort of thing. So I'm not a sushi guy, but the people that I know that love sushi say that a lot of the best sushi they've ever had in their life was here. So
true.
That's something to keep in mind. But it's a foodie place. It's very multicultural. So whatever you're into, the restaurants are just off the hook. So
Gastown is cool to check out. Like, walk around down there, and look at the shops and all that stuff.
There's areas of Vancouver that have that real hipster vibe going on, real cool little trendy areas you can go to, weird little shops and all sorts of cool things like that. So, it's a great place to come and visit and look around.
I got these pancakes from a place that's now closed called Jethro's. These pancakes were like super boutique kind of pancakes, where they were huge. First of all, they put them in a pizza box. When you get them I got them to go one day. It was a pizza box, and you get like 2 pancakes, but they were super thick, right? And it was basically like the equivalent of two medium pizzas, say, stacked on top of each other. I got the one that had bacon, and what they did was they like interwove this bacon, and then they like cooked it into the top of the pancake. It was, and then you just like take a fork and cut slices of this thing off. Like an order of pancakes would feed 2 people, you know, get some eggs with that and stuff too. But it was the bomb. Unfortunately, Jethro's is closed, but there's other good breakfast places, like really good breakfast places there.
I'm almost angry you told me about that, and then
I know believe me, I'm angry about it too.
It's kind of a messed up thing to do to all of our listeners.
Ron, have you ever gone to the UBC grounds, like the campus, and walked around out over there?
Yeah, I've been down there a few times.
So
there used to be, I don't know if it's still there, but there was a Gold's Gym on campus there. I went and trained at before with a friend of mine, and then there's a place called Wreck Beach, which is actually like a nude beach, but it's super popular. Like, you know, it's one of the best beaches to go to. So you go down to Wreck Beach, and not everyone's nude. Obviously, you can be nude, but most people are just down there just partying, having a good time. And then you'll see some weird naked guy like waving, you know,
there's always that guy. He trains
glow
in my gym.
sticks, you know, with a long gray beard, walking around with his nuts out. And there'll be some like, you know, some girls that are enjoying the topless attention. But for the most part, most nudists aren't.
You don't want to see
to look. Yeah, most nudists aren't good to look at. So you just kind of like make sure you realize you're on a nude beach, and there's some definite obstacles you want to look away from. But I went down to Wreck Beach with Emily one day because she'd had a photo shoot down there. Because like I said, there's like logs all over the place on the beach, and there's all this cool stuff for photo shoots. So it's very popular. But you go down to Wreck Beach on like a weekend, and it's packed down there. People down there having fun, and you know, it's pretty cool. But that's right by UBC campus. That's right on the campus.
Okay. Yeah, so the campus is like right on the ocean, which you would think that with Vancouver, that's been there forever, right? And you would think with Vancouver that like with the way the property is, like there's nowhere to build. And this beautiful campus has like some of the best like waterfront property in the world, like literally hills and mountains you can just rolling into the ocean and stuff. It's absolutely crazy.
Also, another idea, if you're into it, is I think there's tours you can take, but like real estate, you know, what's it called? Just real estate sightseeing.
Oh, really?
Like you can go on these tours where they'll just take you to like the really fancy areas, like North Vancouver and West Vancouver, and they'll take you and they'll be like, okay, see these crazy houses here, and you're like, yeah, they're really nice, and they're like, that one's $30 million.
Oh, wow.
And you're like, oh, really? Like they're obscenely overpriced. It's the most expensive real estate outside of Manhattan in North America, right?
Yeah.
So
it's wild.
So you could take these tours where they'll take you around and show you the nice houses that are probably worth $2 million in your town.
Yeah.
And and they'll tell you how much they're worth, and it's mind-boggling what those neighborhoods are worth. But yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, a lot to see. It's a fun town. I've been there 3 times now, and I look forward to the time I go back because it's a good energy in Vancouver overall. You know?
Yeah, and it used to be Amsterdam, right? I mean, when weed was still illegal. When weed was still illegal, the actual city of Vancouver, like, you know, the actual downtown part, they'd sort of stopped enforcing it. Like everywhere else in Canada, if you lit up a joint on the street, you'd get in trouble. But back in those days, Vancouver kind of let you go, and there was a very pot friendly, you know, very that sort of thing. So the legalization of weed didn't change Vancouver a lot.
Exactly.
Okay,
is
that it, guys?
Yep, that's it.
I'm happy with that. That was good. Okay, thanks for everyone. Remember, guys, the YouTube questions are definitely a priority for us. So thank you for the YouTube interaction and also the Patreon questions. So for those of you that are donating a $27 cup of coffee every month to Patreon, your questions are definitely prioritized as well. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, that all helps because there are literally costs to doing all this, and that does help me to at least break even. And then with YouTube and stuff like that, I can scrape together some money and actually call it a minimum wage job with what I do.
There you go. Well, if you divide it by the hours you put in, it's not really minimum wage anymore.
Yeah, you're well below. But anyways, it's illegal. But
You're okay. Yeah, you're working for illegal slave wages. We appreciate it. And remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, And
ring the bell.
yes. And Dusty and I really appreciate all the code uses on immutant.com. Dusty20 and Big Ron 20. I get an email every time someone uses my code. It's great. I'm glad that we're able to help you guys get 20% off. And of course, like I said, remember the Patreon. Any closing words, guys?
Thanks for watching, everybody. That's what I have to say.
Yeah.
Appreciate
And
you.
Next time.
If you didn't watch the previous episode, go back and at least watch the part about Dusty's birthday.
Yes, it's at the end. There'll be a timestamp.
Timestamp. That's the part where everybody
Okay.
knows to stop. They're like, never mind.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Remember, it's just bodybuilding.